Do this just once, and he will choose you even if he has 1,000 other options. We are raised, quite subtly, to believe that if we want to be loved, we must compete. That somehow affection is a trophy to be earned, admiration a limited resource to be fought for. We compare ourselves, our faces, our words, our gestures, to those around us, hoping that we might become the brightest in the room, the most captivating among many. But this belief, that love is a contest, is a trick of the mind. In reality, love is not about standing out. It is about tuning in. You may dress yourself in brilliance, but if your heart is hidden, the soul of another cannot find you. And so the first lesson is this: you need not compete to be chosen. What you must do instead is become entirely yourself, in stillness, in clarity, in truth. There is one thing, just one act, that pierces through the noise of 1,000 others, your full, unfiltered presence. Most people offer fragments. They present polished pieces of who they think they should be. But to be truly seen, you must stop hiding. You must offer something no one else dares to offer. Your undivided attention, your silent understanding, your unconditional openness, even once is enough. Because when a person is faced with a sea of choices, it's not the loudest that stands out. It's the truest, the one who listens without needing to reply, the one who holds space without rushing to fill it, the one who gives not to impress, but simply because giving is in their nature. What you must understand is that trying to be chosen is itself a kind of absence. It pulls you out of yourself. You begin to perform, and in doing so, you abandon your truth. And yet, paradoxically, the very thing that makes you magnetic is your return to your natural state, your peace, your quiet confidence in simply being. To be chosen is not the goal. To be so wholly yourself that others cannot help but feel drawn to you. That is the way. Give your attention like it is sunlight, not demanding anything to grow, but illuminating whatever it touches. Ask nothing, expect nothing. Love for the sake of loving just once, and it will echo in the heart of the one who receives it, because such purity is rare. It cuts through pretense like a bell ringing in stillness. Do not fear his other options. 1,000 petals may bloom, but the bee always returns to the one flower that offers something different, not sweeter, not brighter, just more real. So what should you do just once? Be completely present, give your truth, offer your heart without fear. Let your love not be a strategy, but a state of being, and if you do this even once, he may forget others, not because you were better, but because you were true. And in the end, it is truth that stays, not charm, not perfection, not effort, but truth. Undeniable, unshakable, unforgettable. We are conditioned from the earliest moments of our social development to believe that love is something to be earned by outshining others. It's subtle, this conditioning. It seeps into how we speak, how we dress, how we interpret silence, how we perceive glances and interactions. It teaches us that we are in competition, competing with others for attention, for validation, for belonging. This creates an internal tension, a pressure to always perform, to always appear desirable, to be the one who stands tallest in a crowded room. But this entire mindset rests on a fundamental illusion. It suggests that love, or more precisely being chosen, is a result of comparison. That if someone has many options, we must somehow defeat the others by being better, more attractive, more intelligent, more exciting, more accommodating. Yet this perspective reduces love to a transaction, to a kind of marketplace where the highest bidder wins the affection of another. And that is not love. That is anxiety, disguised as ambition. The illusion of competition in love arises when we forget that real connection doesn't emerge from superiority. It emerges from resonance. When two people truly meet, they do not do so on the battlefield of comparison. They meet in stillness, in presence, in mutual recognition. You cannot force someone to feel this resonance by outperforming others. In fact, the more you try to be better than someone else, the further you drift from your own essence, your own natural rhythm. You become less yourself, more a projection of who you think you should be. And so the very thing that might have made you unforgettable gets lost in your attempt to be impressive. The truth is, the person who is truly chosen is not necessarily the most beautiful, the most talented, or the most charming. They are the one who carries no urgency to compete, the one who isn't trying to win anyone over, the one who has stepped outside the race entirely and stands peacefully in their own center. Because when you are calm, when you are grounded in yourself, something extraordinary happens. You become a mirror not to other people's insecurities, but to their deeper longing for peace and authenticity. You reflect back a kind of stillness they didn't realize they were searching for, and that stillness is magnetic. It doesn't scream for attention, it gently pulls others in. So instead of focusing on who else he might be choosing from, ask yourself, what illusion am I buying into? Because if you step away from the false idea that love is something to win, you begin to see that what truly attracts is not how loudly you call out, but how deeply you embody truth. Let go of the competition. There is no one else to outshine. There is only the invitation to become so authentically yourself, so at ease with who you are that being chosen becomes not a prize, but a natural unfolding. In a world obsessed with appearances and performances, many people fall into the trap of thinking that love is something earned by doing, not by being. We prepare scripts, design our best behaviors, rehearse our charm, and present ourselves as polished, curated versions of what we think the other person wants. This is the great misunderstanding, that we must perform to be worthy of love, that we must say all the right things, look a certain way, or behave flawlessly to be chosen. Genuine love, the kind that sticks with you even in silence, doesn't arise from performance. It arises from presence. There's something unmistakable about someone who is present, not just physically near, but emotionally available, energetically grounded, and inwardly still. You can feel it. You can sense it when they look at you and truly see you, not through the lens of what they want from you, or who they wish you were, but as you are right now. Presence is the rarest gift in a world full of distractions. It's not loud, it's not flashy, and it never demands attention. But it holds more weight than anything else. Being present means you're not planning your next move while someone else is speaking. You're not scanning for flaws or thinking about how to impress. You're not driven by anxiety or need. You are simply here, calm, aware, receptive, and in that stillness you allow others to rest too. They don't have to perform around you. They don't feel the pressure to be more. They begin to feel safe, seen, and understood. This is why presence is more powerful than performance. A performance ends when the curtain falls. It is fleeting, temporary. But presence leaves a lasting imprint. It lingers, because presence is real and people are starving for what is real. You can be beautiful, smart, even perfect on paper. But if you're not present, there's an emptiness behind it all. It becomes a hollow attraction, soon forgotten. But if someone feels fully met, fully heard, and fully felt, even just once, they remember it, they remember you. Presence is not about saying the perfect words or doing grand gestures. It's about sincerity. It's about being quiet enough inside yourself to truly open up to the moment and the person in front of you. When you offer someone your presence without agenda, without pressure, you are giving them something that no one else can fake, and that cannot be replicated even by 1,000 others. So while the world may chase charisma and perfection, it is presence that calls the heart home. And in the choice between someone who performs love and someone who is love, the soul will always know the difference. There is a subtle but powerful shift that occurs when you stop trying to be chosen and start focusing on becoming someone worth choosing. Trying to be chosen often stems from a hidden sense of lack, the belief that who you are as you are is not enough. So you strive, bend, mold yourself to fit into an image, hoping that someone will finally look your way and say, yes, you. But this approach is exhausting. It places your self-worth in someone else's hands. It turns love into approval and connection into validation seeking. But consider this, what if the goal is not to get someone to choose you, but to become so rooted in your own value that being chosen is no longer the prize, it's simply a reflection of what already is? When you shift from seeking love to embodying love, from seeking worth to living in it, everything changes. You move from need to abundance, from fear to power. Becoming worth choosing isn't about proving anything. It's not about accumulating achievements or perfecting yourself. It's about being whole within yourself. It's about doing the inner work that builds depth, self-awareness, emotional maturity, clarity of purpose. It's about knowing your values and living by them. When you do this, you develop a kind of quiet magnetism. You no longer chase energy, you draw it. People can feel the difference between someone who wants attention and someone who doesn't need it. The one who doesn't need it has already given it to themselves. That person walks into a room with ease. They don't compete, they don't seek approval, and they don't adjust themselves just to fit in. Instead, they extend an invitation. This is me, without artifice, without pressure. You are free to stay or go. That kind of energy is irresistible, not because it demands to be noticed, but because it rests in its own dignity. The paradox is this: the less you try to be chosen, the more you naturally become someone who stands out, not because you're louder or more dramatic, because your presence carries integrity, and integrity is rare. It's the quiet confidence of someone who has accepted their own imperfections, someone who doesn't pretend to be more or less than they are. So let go of the desperation to be picked. Let go of the need to be someone's favorite. Focus instead on becoming someone who is deeply aligned with truth, your truth. And when you live that truth, the right people will find you, not because you pleaded to be noticed, but because your existence became undeniable. In the end, it's not about being chosen by many. It's about being so true to yourself that the one who is meant to walk with you has no doubt when they see you. Most people love with conditions, with hidden ledgers in their minds keeping track of what they gave and what they expect in return. They smile, they give, they support, but only as long as it guarantees something. Affection, attention, reciprocation. This isn't truly love, it's a form of subtle negotiation, a silent agreement that sounds like, I will give to you as long as you give back to me. But the soul does not resonate with transactional affection. It craves something deeper, something rare, and that is unconditional offering. To give without needing to get is not weakness, it is strength in its purest form. It requires a certain kind of inner abundance, a knowing that you are already full, already complete. From this place you don't love because you're lacking something. You love because love is what flows naturally from your being, and when this kind of giving is done, not repeatedly, not forcefully, but just once, it leaves a mark that cannot be erased. One moment of pure, unconditional giving, a look that says I see you, without judgment, a gesture that expects no recognition, a kindness extended without agendic, and reach further into the human heart than a lifetime of strategic affection. Why? Because it's not trying to control, it's not trying to persuade, it's not manipulating the outcome, it simply is, and in that simplicity it becomes unforgettable. This is the kind of moment that makes someone pause and question everything they thought they knew about love. They may have known beauty, charm, and even attention from others, but when someone gives without asking anything in return, it shifts something inside them. It shows them a depth they didn't know they were missing, and once the heart has touched something that real, it's very hard to go back to the surface. Of course, giving without needing to get doesn't mean becoming a doormat. It doesn't mean allowing yourself to be drained or taken advantage of. True giving, the kind that transforms both the giver and the receiver, comes from a place of strength, not sacrifice. It has boundaries, it is not desperate, it does not plead, it flows effortlessly because it is rooted in truth. So when you choose to give your time, your care, your presence, do it with clarity, do it with freedom. Let it be a statement that says, I don't need to win you over. I'm simply sharing what is already overflowing within me. That kind of giving is rare because most people are afraid they'll be forgotten if they aren't constantly performing, pleasing, or receiving. But here's the paradox: the ones who give freely without calculation are the ones who are remembered the longest, because in a world full of half love and masked intentions, the most powerful thing you can do is offer something pure. Even once is enough. It plants a seed in the soul, and no matter how many other options exist, none of them can compare to the truth of what was freely given. There is something within each of us that instinctively reaches for what is real. Even when we are distracted by surface-level beauty or charm, even when we're pulled toward excitement or novelty, something quieter inside us is always scanning for truth. This is not something we're taught, it's something we remember. The soul knows truth when it feels it. It doesn't need to be explained, it resonates, and once it's felt, everything else pales in comparison. In relationships, people often try to impress. They present their best selves, say the right things, follow rules, and play games, thinking that these tactics will earn them love, and perhaps for a time they do catch someone's interest. But this kind of attraction is fragile. It's based on image, not essence, on what is shown, not what is known. And eventually that image begins to fade because it was never rooted in anything solid. But when someone shows up with sincerity, when they speak from their center, when they love without manipulation or mask, that energy is undeniable, it's rare, it's not noisy, it doesn't beg to be chosen, but it lingers like a song that plays softly in the background yet stays in your mind long after it ends. The soul isn't interested in perfection. It seeks connection. It wants something that feels familiar, something that feels like home, and only truth can offer that. You may not be the most glamorous person in the room. You may not be the loudest, the most successful, or the most entertaining, but if you are true, if your words, your actions, and your presence reflect your inner self, then you carry a kind of quiet power. That power doesn't demand to be seen, but it is seen. When a person has encountered countless others, what makes one stand out? It's not always what they did, it's how they made them feel, and no one forgets how it feels to be met with honesty. No one forgets the moment they didn't have to hide, because someone else wasn't hiding either. You don't have to pretend to be extraordinary. You simply have to be you completely, wholly, without the fear of rejection clouding your authenticity, because the one who is meant to see you won't be moved by how perfect you appeared. They'll be moved by how real you were. That is the kind of connection that can't be created through effort. It simply happens when two truths recognize one another. In the end, we are all just waiting to come across someone who reminds us of who we are at our core. When you live in your truth, you become that reminder for someone else. And once that moment is shared, it stays. The soul remembers, always. So in the end, it isn't your beauty, your charm, or your effort that will make him choose you over 1,000 others. It's not about how much you can give, how loudly you can love, or how perfectly you can perform. It is about something far more subtle, far more powerful, your truth. When you stop striving to be chosen and instead rest deeply in who you truly are, you become undeniable. You stop chasing affection and start radiating presence. You stop negotiating love and start embodying it. Just once, if you can stand in your stillness, offer your heart without condition, and allow yourself to be fully seen without fear, you become unforgettable. You become a mirror to something real, something sacred, something missing in all the noise of this world. And though he may have 1,000 choices, though others may clamor for his attention, his soul will remember you, not because you tried harder, but because you didn't try to be anything else but yourself. Let others race, let others compete. You simply be grounded, be sincere, be present, because the one who chooses you not out of comparison, but out of clarity, will not be choosing just another option. He will be choosing the only one who didn't try to become someone else to be loved, and that is the choice that endures.